Hello everyone and welcome to Trending in My Life. This week I did some filming and there were a few hiccups here and there, and I thought I'd use them in this video to show people who are YouTubers themselves how little bits and pieces can crop up and you don't notice it at the time, or you can go somewhere and your timing is off and what you're expecting to happen doesn't happen. Or I did some filming at home where I was making something and the glue that I was using wasn't as strong as I'd liked, so the actual project itself worked, but I felt like, oh, I wish I had a glue gun or it had held together stronger, and I adapted it. But I wanted to make a video out of this to show YouTubers and general public just how things can go a little bit wrong, but you can still make lemonade out of lemons kind of thing. So here goes. We're going to start off with Penguin Parade. Now, I looked online what was on in London for last week, and one of the things was a Penguin Parade trail. And there were these numbers on a map, and you followed the trail around, and wherever you went you would find at the end of where these numbers were marked, you would find a big penguin, like a sculpture of a penguin, but different artists had put their own design on each penguin, so they were all very different. And you'd follow it around, and there was quite a lot of people doing it at the same time as me, although I was doing it on a Friday morning about 10:30, so you would think it would be quieter, but there was quite a few people around. And you'll see in the clip people waiting to step up and do their filming, and me waiting to go and film things as well. So what I'm going to do is get my laptop. I'm going to get my laptop, she says, and put it on my lap so I can actually watch this and, oops, try not to drag the camera out of its frame. Right, so I can look at these and talk to you at the same time. Now, some of them I will just be using the voiceover from what I'm saying, but some of them I will actually pop in and talk about the clips. Ooh, look at that bright light. That's illuminating me. Ooh, very shiny, bright in my glasses. Can't think. It's very heavy on my lap. Let's move some of the things that are underneath it, like the stand and the fan that's offsetting it. Then I can put it a bit lower and it won't be in my glasses so much. Right, I started off by getting the train to Blackfriars Station, which is slightly east of the central part of London where you get Oxford Street or Trafalgar Square, things like that. It's slightly east of that. Right, the first one was quite easy to find, and he was in like a green elf suit, and it says Buddy Chief Elf on his chest. But this first one is where things went wrong. And that's because I was conscious of the fact that there's this thing in London at the moment to beware of phone snatchers. It's like peak levels at the moment. And in that respect, I didn't use my phone to do this filming. I used my GoPro because I don't know where it is at the moment, but basically if I go like that, my GoPro fits there, and it's tiny enough that it's almost completely enclosed with my hand, and I was also putting my other hand like that as well, so it's not sticking out in front of me like a phone would be, and because they apparently cycle past people and just grab them, or they ride upon the pavement and just grab them. So I was nervous about that, which is why I'd got my GoPro. Let me replay that so I can check. Yeah, and the first one I found was in an elf suit, but immediately I sort of did an angle where I was looking from his toes upwards. So I did catch a bit of his face. Let me double check that again. Yeah, I did catch a bit of his face, not quite the top of his beak, because they were all sort of pointing their beaks upwards. But from then on, you see, we have headless penguins. Because I was so focused on the design on each one that I was forgetting to frame it within my GoPro. Because the GoPro screen is small, which people will know if they've got one or seen people filming with them. And it's not like you put it up to your eye and look through it. It's not, I don't know. My phone, I am always aware of the edges, but on the GoPro, I'm not. Especially because I can zoom on the GoPro once I've done the filming, but it never occurred to me to check I've got the top. This filming started with some headless penguins, and when I initially viewed it, I thought, oh no, I've ruined all this footage. But it's not as bad as I thought. The next one I filmed, you went sort of up an alleyway and then up some steps, and they're not exactly hidden, but they weren't very easy to find. And this one is in sort of different shades of red palette, and it's a pattern design. And they did one design on the front and one design on the back. And on the front they put some birds. Now I was struck immediately by the fact that that's ironic, because penguins don't fly and you've put birds on which are flying. But maybe it was the artist's sort of tongue-in-cheek humour, I don't know, or they might even not even thought about that at all. And again, we're losing the head when I was filming, and I'm like, And I was focusing on the bodies, and I was also focusing on the plaques underneath, which told you what number it was and what each one was called. So yeah, when I first viewed these, because these two followed each other, I was like, good grief, woman, headless penguins? But the one thing I was absolutely sure of was I was not going back into Central and following this trail again. So it was like, is there anything I can salvage of it? And when I first viewed it, I thought, rubbish, can't use that. And then I got up the next morning and viewed it again, and I was like, actually, it's not terrible at all. You've just got some places where you miss the top of the head off the penguin, and it is an interesting thing to show because you've got all these different designs from designers. And I also found when I googled it that some of these try that again. I also found when I googled it that these penguin parades aren't just in London. There's a similar thing going on in Birmingham, which is in the Midlands, and in Manchester, which is in the north of England. So it's not particularly a London thing. So I was quite surprised at that. I didn't like my little bubble London, you know, I don't think these things happen anywhere else, but they do. Right, the next one, I was better at photographing this, but probably because it was in like a quiet square between buildings, and so there was no traffic around, and there was some space between the people filming, which made it easier. But also I really liked the design, so I think I wanted to frame it better because I was like absorbed by the design, which was snowy mountains and like a sunset painted on the penguin, which I was like, wow, that's beautiful. And just to mention, there's a statue of a cat at the side, which has nothing to do with the penguin parade. The cat's called Hodge, and in that square is Dr. Johnson's house, and Hodge was Dr. Johnson's cat. And if you want to know who Dr. Johnson is, Wikipedia like I did, and and that's a long rabbit hole to go down, so I'm not going there. Yeah, and so I took my time with this penguin, and I think this is probably my favourite. I did try and figure out what the sort of browny bits were, and at first I thought they were crevices in the mountains, and maybe they are, but I also thought they looked a little bit like leaves sort of blowing in the wind. But yeah, that's probably my favourite one. And the next one, Percy the Party Penguin. He's dressed in something that it's actually a suit in stripes and with festive stuff on. But when I initially saw it, I thought, oh, it reminds me of those onesies that people have. And if you haven't seen them looking like that, then it would mean nothing to you. But it did. And I thought this was a fun one. You know, which is why it's a party penguin, I guess. So yeah, this was a fun one. But I got his head in, yay! And again, that's a pedestrianised square. So it's maybe where I felt less pressure to step up, take it, you know, film it and move on so the next person can come in. Right, next we have... The artist had painted a deer with an owl on each of its antlers, beautifully painted, and it was the moon in the sky. It's called The Forest at Christmas, and at the back was a fox in the moonlight as well. So that was particularly beautifully painted, and not a pedestrianised square though. There was a busy road going past it. There was people coming and throwing from offices and cafes around it as well. Although, like I said, I did film early on a morning when I thought it would be less crowded. This one is the pink one, and it's called Santa Paws, and it's got a load of animals peeking out from a Christmas tree with Santa hats on, much more sort of cartoony, and I did manage to get the head in once, but a lot of the time I'd cut it off. I was so focused on the designs and showing you the designs that I just, oh yeah, I get the head in at the start and at the end. So I was clearly getting better, but unaware of the problem when I was filming it anyway. I didn't realise I was cutting heads off. And next we have Kevin the Kinguin. So like a king penguin. And he was painted very much like a penguin, but in yellow and blue rather than black and white. And there was a lot of detail in the feathering on him as well. Oh yeah, this one is more cartoony again, and it's called Helter Skelter, and you've got penguins and other animals sliding down a helter skelter. It's quite clever how it it doesn't wrap round, but that's the idea, that the helter skelter is wrapping around the penguin's body so that you can see it from the front but also from the back, and the bands of the helter skelter go all the way round. And there's a fun little penguin right at the back on the tail, sort of head first in a big lump of snow. So yeah, that was a nice one. Fun, I thought. And then the last one that I filmed, Mr. Easy Freezy. Now, I thought at first when I looked at this, it is very much like the Helter Skelter one, because there's a definite sort of slide effect, but instead of being bands round, they were sort of zigzag like that, and penguins, cartoony penguins with big white blobs of snow coming down, and the penguins wearing Santa hats as well. So yeah, another one that I would say was a fun one. And I thought the front was very different from the back, because on the front of it, penguins were skiing and snowboarding down a slope. So, and he had a scarf on, a striped scarf on, and I got his head in. Yes, I did get better at it. But like I say, I wasn't even aware that I'd done the head cutting off thing. So it wasn't that I was specially trying to improve as I went along. It just happened. It's it's kind of a learning curve when you're filming, but what I wanted to show you this week is that you're learning from how you can use the footage even when it's not perfect, and also from the viewpoint of you don't know, you know. I tend not to view my footage on the go, so it's not a case of I could say, oh no, I've not done this or I've not done that, and I'll go back, I'll do that again, and when you're on the spot, I don't view it till I get home. So it would mean an entire repeat of a trip somewhere to do something. And I did do that in the early days of filming when I got it wrong. I mean, spectacularly got it wrong when when I ended up with a load of photos instead of videos of something. So I had no choice but to do that again. But something like this, I think, actually the footage isn't terrible at all. I just chopped the heads off a couple of penguins, and in some cases the beak off, because they were like put in their head, and it was the beak was the top thing in the frame. So it's, and you have to forgive yourself some mistakes like that because they happen, you know. And the next clips, there's just 2 clips, but on my way back to the station from doing that, I then thought, ooh, in a previous video, I'd stood outside Somerset House, which was on my way to the train station, and I'd said they do skating in there at Christmas time, and I couldn't get anywhere near the entrance to it and show you the building inside because it was like some kind of fashion week thing, and there was chairs all outside. If I remember, I'll link it so that you'll see the outside. But yeah, the ice skating is going in at the moment, so I went in, started to record at one end, and it's nice because you can see the building with the word skate across it, so it's a good sort of first shot and stuff. But I'm not very tall, and there was a raised platform and people were wandering backwards and forwards, and I couldn't get right up and sort of lean over the barrier where the skaters were to get a better video clip of the skaters. I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll walk down the other end and view it from the other end. And, you know, it's 5 minutes, and I knew there were steps at the building the other end, and I thought I can go up the steps a little bit and get a better view. I'll do that. So I walked down there, and in the time I walked down there, no more than 5 minutes, they called all the people off the ice, and they had like a Zamboni thing going around, cleaning the ice. So I got there, and all the people had gone, all the skaters had gone. And I still took a clip of the Zamboni thing, but I thought that was just timing, you know. And since I hadn't planned to go there anyway on this trip out into London, I had no idea what time they do that, and I think unless you were actually skating there, you wouldn't know when the sessions start and end. So yeah, that wasn't what I was planning to get. But there are a lot of skating rinks around London at the moment. One really good one is at the Tower of London, because you are above it and looking down into what was the moat, and that's where the skating takes place. So that's a good one. And a lot of the shopping malls have them as well. So you'll probably see more clips of skaters later in my filming as we go up towards Christmas. Yeah, and now let's move on to my indoor filming at the weekend. I was filming my short, which it was, this is Wednesday at the moment when I'm filming this, and the short actually came out today, and it's called Pinecone Pileup. Now, it was originally going to be called Pinecone Mountain, but I didn't think it was precise enough a shape to look like a mountain, so I called it Pileup. Now, first thing that happened when I was doing this, now I have separate footage of this that I can include because it's I filmed on both my phone and my GoPro, but I used mostly, in fact, it's almost all my phone footage in the short, except for one or two clips, I think, where I hadn't actually got a shot of me painting the white out on the cones to make it look snowy, and right at the end I used some GoPros. But yeah, I'd got GoPro just statically sort of observing what I've got, and I'll put some shots in here, and you'll be able to see that as I put the glue on, the glue is clear. It's PVA glue, and I've made these pinecone things for years and years and years. But when I started doing it, PVA glue used to be thick and white, and I suppose now it's clear and thinner. It's probably a lot better for the environment. But when you sort of go like this and you're putting a load of glue on the tablet thing that I was making it on, and then putting it on the cones and stuff, it's very thin, and that thick white stuff that it used to be was very good at holding things together. And a friend of mine said to me, you really need to buy a glue gun. And I do, they're not very expensive. But the craft stores aren't very close to where I live, and I have to sort of travel out of the area a bit to get to craft stores. Anyway, back to the plot. As I was building this and making this, I did eventually get what I wanted, this pinecone pile-up as a table decoration. But in the process, what I noticed was I put them together on this glue, and I started to pile the top layer off, and they just went and just all sort of collapsed. And then I realised I'll have to tie some string around to hold it together to put the second layer on, which I did. And then I had to do string again on that layer before I could balance the one on the top, all the time putting the glue on. And I needed to leave it, and to be honest, I needed to leave it a lot longer than I did before I finished filming. But I was on a time scale. I had to get certain things filmed at a certain time because I work full time, so I'd only got so many hours that I had to get that filming done. And yeah, so I ended up with finished short, and the decoration, I took the string off, although you can see it start to wobble a bit when I take the string off. But yeah, I got the finished thing, but I would much rather have had it more secure than it was, and it did, you know, it did hold together fine once it had had a couple of days to dry. But yeah, you can have filming mishaps or hiccups or bloopers even when you're filming at home, where you can control the circumstances a lot more. I mean, it was like when I started doing it, nothing can go wrong here, you know. Yeah, well, it's just one of those things. But that's it, and I think that's the fun of being a content creator, and those are the ups and downs and the things you deal with. And I remember my very first video and all that zigzaggy grass because the phone wouldn't focus on it. No idea I'd done that. So I've come a long way from there to collapsing cones and headless penguins, but and vanishing skaters. But yeah, I mean, all YouTube creators, good luck to all you new ones, and don't give up and keep going. But yeah, it's a journey and it's fun, and even when things go wrong, I'm still loving it. So yeah, it's awesome. So that's all for this week. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, share with a friend, and come back next time. Bye for now.